Hello, and welcome back to the NHL Best Bets. Yesterday, there were originally quite a few games, but at the end, two of those was postponed. New York Buffalo was due to some snowstorm plus COVID bubble issues, and New Jersey visits Pittsburgh was equally postponed due to COVID contamination. So we had only 8 games at the end that were played. We picked 2 overs as our picks, and here you see that first one was for this postponed Buffalo New York Islanders game, and then second one was between Minnesota and Colorado. Our original simulation included a bit different goaltenders there, but they had their best goaltenders in game, and that was one reason why there were only 3 goals. Colorado won 2-1 this game. Tommy, how you see this game that played in Colorado? Was it somehow better defensive from both teams, or was there a big struggle from the offense in these teams?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. I think the offensive effort of especially Colorado was a little bit lacking. They couldn't beat Cam Talbot in the goal only twice, so not the best performance from them. Also, something to note was that we were thinking that possibly both teams try to go a little bit more in the offense, a little bit more offensive style of play, but that didn't really happen. It was quite a tight game in close checking, quite a high energy in that way defensively, not so much in the offense. So I'd say this was a little bit of a bad pick now when looking back, but of course hindsight is 2020 always. Both teams shot a lot, so 31 shots on goal from Colorado, 28 from Minnesota. So it wasn't a defensive battle in that regard, but of course a little bit disappointing in the scoring department. But a good win for Colorado for sure. They did need this close win as well, so they know that they can win these sort of games against the rivals. And Minnesota has proven that they are actually a good team in chasing the playoff spot, which we will talk about a little bit more later.
Yep, and from the other games, what we discussed yesterday, Dallas won on the road against Columbus. There were some value based on simulations. Same with Winnipeg now winning Calgary at home, and same for the Edmonton that won Ottawa 4-2. Any comments on these games?
Yeah, we got good results and good profit from those games. It was like we were speaking about Columbus a little bit against Dallas. Dallas a little bit stronger team. Columbus a lot of relying on their goaltending, on their defensive efforts as a unit, 5 players playing defense. And when that fails, it looks like this. So then a 3-6 result for Dallas. So pretty ugly numbers. Similarly, then we had Edmonton beating Ottawa again, not as a high-scoring game as the previous one, but Edmonton has gotten their offense going, so it will be a difficult team to beat if they manage to score these four goals a game, which they have now done a couple of times. And like I said, a good win for Colorado, a closer one than expected, but still victory is a victory, so a good 2 points from Minnesota there.
Yep, and there we had also value in Chicago when they were playing home. Now they lost in another coin flip against Carolina, but it looks like Chicago, at least when playing at home, is giving full time for these, let's say, better teams that we have predicted higher in the standings.
Yeah, Chicago's played pretty well, and they've made it tough for their opponents. It's just those little things that prevent them from winning, like this coin flip this time around again. a couple of times gone against us. So we'll see if we can adjust simulations of the shootout somehow to reflect the reality, because I think we're like about 3 out of 5 losing at this moment. So let's try to improve that record a little bit.
Yep. And speaking of records, we have here a little bit review for the past, that what is our current status with overall numbers. So Tommy, if you can go through a little bit how we have been doing in our simulations.
Yeah, obviously we've done pretty well overall in simulations. The side value is what we're always looking for. So the difference in our simulations compared to the available odds, regardless of which team is gonna win. So wherever there is value, we place the bets. We've done 147 picks, won 56% of them, and we are in the profit for plus 356. So it's a good result out of those picks. Of course, keeping up this pace, it would end up in quite a hefty profit in the end of the season. So that's what we try to do. Also, money line is worth mentioning. So 50% or more in the simulations, and the winners of the games are the ones that we're predicting. Same thing, every game predicted so far: 90 correct, 57 wrong, 61% winning percentage. So pretty good there as well. And what's interesting is that the profit is actually plus 773. Usually it goes the other way around, that side value has more profit than the money line, but this time around we have managed to pick the 50% or more winners in games that have really high odds for the team that eventually won the game. So this explains why it's such a big profit there. And then totals, of course, total lines are a little bit changing. So this is not an exact science that we're doing here. We have counted always a loss of minus of odds of minus 110. So win or lose the same amount always. And we made 100 picks exactly, 51% correct. So 51.49, obviously that one. And at the moment, a loss is 290 units, so not a big loss, still a loss. So it might be there if it's in the zero when we will adjust it by the odds later on. But overall, really good result, especially the money line. It's encouraging that our simulations are finding the winner in a very good percentage. So looking good entering the last 4/5 of this season. So there is not a big take yet. 147 games altogether. There will be 868 games in the regular season. So still quite a lot of hockey to be played and profit to be made. How about you? How do you feel about these numbers?
Yeah, I think numbers are good, and especially when we break down those in a little bit more. Here we have team-based numbers, how the different teams have provided wins or losses so far, and there are some home teams like Washington, Philadelphia from the East Division, then Calgary, they're in North Division, have been pretty good, but at the same time then in East we have predicted Pittsburgh to have side value in 4 games. They have lost each of those, same Carolina and Buffalo. So I think this shows that within the same division there can be teams that be pretty well, and then others that are not so great performance. Then on the road, Columbus have played tough games, both home and the road. They have relied on their good goaltending, and that has been also part of our simulation results, that they have been winning those games. Then Chicago Blackhawks maybe here with coin flip result as a team that has lost most of the money on the road because they have lost many shootouts and overtimes, puck hasn't bounced the way how it could be or how it should be based on our simulations. And interesting here is that when the Washington Capitals have been the team on the home arena that have provided best side value, they have been one of the worst performing team on the road. And maybe this is just the size of the sample here, but naturally the COVID protocol issues with their 4 top Russian players have impact here 4 of their games. Is there any other interesting trends that you've seen so far in our record in simulations?
Yeah, this is like you said, not a lot of games played, so of course a little bit of a small sample size yet. But there are some really interesting takes here, like you were mentioning these Washington Capitals at home. We have predicted them almost perfectly, really well, made a massive profit, and then on the road, absolutely the contrary. So something's going on there, simulation-wise, and probably in Capitals playing as well. So these are the things that we have to have a look and compare a little bit. What are they actually doing on the ice on home games and then on the road? So the differences shouldn't be this big. But it's interesting also that there are not these contradictory picks. Not that many, so it's most of the teams we are doing very solid job in predicting all of the games on the board, like at home and on the road. Also something that we will take a look later on will be the underdogs and the favorites, and how do the teams perform when they have those chances. In our simulations, the trends, the best picks that we've been able to make, not the ones that we made in this video, of course, but when the simulation is showing when the odds are for the home team better than minus 129, then we have made a profit of more than plus 1,000 in all those games, and there is about 55 of those picks. So something to look into as well is these trends, that which picks are winning according depending on the odds and the simulations that we run. So something that we will take a look in our picks now from now on to try to get into our winning ways again after making a little bit of a loss in the first 10 games of the season or so.
Yeah, and just to clarify the previous slide that we showed, it shows the game of that team, how well we have predicted, not specifically the team as is. Like on the road, we have predicted 6 games of Ottawa Senators correct. They have lost every one of those, but we have predicted that there has been side value for every opponent of Ottawa Senator in those 6 games, and that's the way how the record is calculated.
Yeah, that's exactly the point of the side value bets that we make.
Then we have updated our season future simulations as well. If we start from the Central Division, currently it's quite even. Some teams have played only 6 games, then some have played 11, but basically Detroit has played 10, they have only 6 points, but all the other teams are within 4 points from the 1st Carolina to 7th Nashville. Which teams we are currently predicting to go to playoffs?
Yeah, of course, Carolina missed some games due to the COVID thing, but we are now predicting them to win this division. Tampa Bay, of course, the reigning champions, also up there around the same amount of points. And then Dallas and Florida is now taking the 4th spot in our simulation. So that's a very tight battle between Florida, Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators. Nashville was the team that we predicted to be in the top 4 early in the season, but they have not performed as well as we thought. So it will be a very close race especially for the 4th place probably also on top, because it seems that these lesser teams like Columbus and Chicago have managed to snatch a lot of points that we were not maybe thinking them to do. Columbus, one of our favorites due to the goaltender Joonas Korpisalo there, they have not played that well. They have gathered a lot of points, but maybe relying a little bit too much on their defense and the goaltender. Maybe it helps a bit to get Patrick Laine now adapted to the team, so they have some scoring threat as well. But so far, Columbus probably is in the right place in the simulations, where they are now second to last in that division.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see also when we have predicted Chicago to have over 60% chance to playoff if that will take place. Reason for this is mainly that Detroit hasn't played very well, and our simulations doesn't like the team at all, so they have a 0 point some percentage chance to reach playoff this season. But then East, that is interesting division. Currently, top 4 teams there are Philadelphia, Washington, Boston, and Pittsburgh. I think we have 3 of those in our season simulations going to playoffs. Was it so? And then we have our simulation favorite, the New York Rangers, still hanging on there in the playoff spot.
Yeah, still early days. So Rangers, of course, a bit disappointing compared to our simulations, but they do have a chance to get up from there. They shown some signs of getting better, not winning games so much, but the last round they managed to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are now in our simulations out of the playoffs. So it's a really tight division, like we've been saying from the beginning. Again, the top 4 teams within a couple of points, especially in close to the playoff spots 4, 5, 6, probably decided by just 2 wins or so. Very tight race. We had Philadelphia Flyers winning it all in the early simulations. Now it is Boston Bruins taking the top spot. Capitals and Rangers and Flyers are then the 3 other teams to go. So out of the playoffs, Sabres, Penguins, Devils, and Islanders at the moment. But like I said, it's really tight, and any team with a couple of wins can raise the rank. So interesting to see what happens. It's only 10 games played, so about 1/5, not even that so far.
And when we go to the Scotia North division, there are basically 7 teams, 6 teams are very tight pack right now. Montreal leading, and then Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton being the 4 others to go to playoffs, followed by Vancouver and Calgary. Then Ottawa is dropped out already from the race. They have played 10 games, recorded 3 points. We had Montreal not so high in our simulations. How that has changed now when they are leading the division?
Still, the simulations don't really rate Montreal. It's a very interesting thing, probably due to their a little bit less than glamorous history. But I think they are on the rise for sure. Montreal is now fighting for the 4th spot in the playoff race. They have projected 64 points, exactly the same as Calgary Flames, who are the 4th in the simulation. So they are up and coming there. Probably if they keep this pace up for another 10 games, then the simulations will start rating them as well. But I do agree in a way with the simulations that they have been overperforming somewhat. They played really well, so there is no question about that. But can they keep it up for a longer term? It remains to be seen. Of course, great goaltending. A couple of breakthrough players like Tyler Toffoli definitely found his stride coming in from the Western Division. So everything's going well for Montreal, but let's see how it looks in the end. Of course, the other teams, Toronto, Edmonton, are up there, but we still have Winnipeg here going down a little bit in the projections, but since the top is very close to each other in around 70 points, Winnipeg is still up there. But let's see how they improve their efforts if they can do something with their defense, and how does the trade of Patrik Laine and Jack Roslovic look after a couple of games.
Then when we go to the West Division, there is not too many surprises. We predicted St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas and Minnesota to be top 4 teams. Vegas has played only 7 games. They are currently 4th, and they have played very well. So expectation is that when they catch up the rest of the games, they would be top 3, and Minnesota then number 4. Any teams that could maybe challenge this top 4 based on our numbers?
Not really. I think this division is pretty much exactly as we predicted, and as probably a lot of people predicted. Of course, Minnesota has done quite well. Some people had a lot of doubt for the Wild team, a lot of changes there, so they were not supposed to do this well. They are now 3rd in their division, and also reaching the playoffs on the 4th spot, like from early on. So there is quite a big gap between these 4 top teams and then the 4 rest. So more than 10 points actually difference between Minnesota and then San Jose on the 5th place. So that seems to be quite clear according to the simulations. And I do agree, after watching a couple of these games, those 4 lower teams, Anaheim, Los Angeles, Arizona, and San Jose, are clearly worse than the top 4. So unless something really strange happens, I don't see any of those 4 teams challenging for the playoffs.
Okay, that wraps up our season future recap, and let's go and check today's games. There's only 2 of them. Detroit goes to Tampa. Tampa is big favorite. Odds are lower than anyone could reasonably bet, but we selected under 6 goals there with odds minus 133. Detroit has struggled scoring, and surprisingly Tampa has also struggled a bit with the scoring there. So let's see how it goes tonight. Another game, Boston goes to Philly. Home team is a bit underdog both in odds and our simulations, but there is a good value for that one. Philadelphia leads currently the division. Boston is 1 point behind, played 1 game less, so very even matchup based on historical stats, current standings, and then our simulations. So whenever you get the plus 123 odds for this kind of game, that's worth to take. How do you see, Tommy, these games? Anything else that you would bet?
I think these games these picks are really good for these games. Like you said, Tampa Bay, of course, clear favorites, but the odds are unplayable in this case. The under is good. Both teams have not scored a lot. Tampa Bay's games 5.8 goals in a game, but probably Detroit will just try to break down Tampa's play and not really try to score even properly. So I think this, unless Tampa manages to score that 6 goals by themselves, I don't see it going over in this case. And Philadelphia, of course, lost 6-1 in Boston a couple of nights ago. So, of course, there is this revenge match now at home in Philadelphia. Definitely a team that is energized and will go full on to beat Boston. And they played pretty well at home, a lot better at home than Boston has done on the road. So I think Philadelphia is a really good bet with this sort of odds that are easily in the plus.
Let's see how these 2 games go, and tomorrow again there should be good amount of games, even though there's a few postponements, but then we'll come back with the new picks.
Let's do that.